morning, guys. Yeah, today is Monday, super busy day, lots of customers, and my first trip was in the Freightliner. I just delivered one scissor lift to Adri, Alberta, just north of Calgary, and then picked up another scissor lift at the ambulance station, and now came back to base, unloaded, and picked up a small what they call man lift. It's kind of like a micro scissor lift, except it's just kind of like a square machine item, 6 feet by 6 feet, and it goes up by 20 feet. So but this one, it's so unruly, you gotta be super careful when loading this, because this one, on the scissor lift, you steer with 2 buttons at the top of the joystick. Like the joystick itself only goes forward and backwards, right? And then there's 2 small buttons on the top, and you press the left button to go left and the right button to go right. So on this one, what's confusing is that it has the same, like what looks like the same system, a joystick and 2 buttons on the top, but turns out the buttons on the top are only for speed. They increase your speed, and the actual joystick goes in all directions, so it's multi-directional joystick, and you use that one to steer. And so you try to correct, let's say you drive up the deck when it's tilted, and I'm pushing the top buttons trying to correct. Let's say I need to go to the right a little bit, so instead I increase the speed, which makes things only worse. And basically what I did now is just I drove it on just a little bit, on the deck. As soon as it was on the deck and the rear wheels were off the ground, I stopped it, applied the brakes, and then went to the cab and started my PTO, and I lifted the deck so that the deck was level, because I don't trust this machine. I'm telling you, I'm afraid it might fall off the deck. And so that one, when the deck was level, I got in into that cab on that machine and just drove it straight and then parked it. So anyway, I was also driving and thinking, since now I had the chance to compare construction and trucking. Like that job where I worked on the solar farm, I'm telling you, I love these machines. I love the loaders, bobcats, all this dozers, excavators, but I just don't like I decided I don't like the work, when you're stuck in that almost like prison, that construction site, and you're stuck there for 10-12 hours, and your management has no idea what kind of task they can give you. Because I remember on that solar farm, the management, I had to beg them. Each time I do something, and then I'm sitting, nobody's saying anything, so I was constantly bugging them for a task. Okay, what can I do? Give me a task. It was ridiculous, and maybe that's why they laid me off, because they got tired of me looking for work. Like, wait a second, why is this guy always looking for work? So probably we don't need him, And he's the oldest skid steer operator. And actually, I was not the worst, I remember comparing to another guy who actually had much more experience, but I honestly was much better on the skid steer, like loading, unloading, like we were moving some boxes. And this guy was 2 times slower than me, So I was not the worst, even though I didn't have much experience, but I do have, I think, kind of like a talent for this. I'm very good with these machines, you know. I could probably even learn the excavator. Like for now, I can only walk it on and off the trailer, but basically, yeah, tracking, I think, you know, even driving this 5-ton, it's more interesting, you know, because you get out of your yard, you know, out of the, let's say, you know, where I load, and then I drive all over the city. There's no supervisor next to me, you know, nobody bugs me. So as long, of course, I don't stop, you know, I keep driving, unload, deliver, maybe stop occasionally, you know, to take a leak somewhere at the gas station, or just buy a cup of coffee. But you know, of course, you're not sitting for half an hour reading a newspaper somewhere. Yeah, so I decided that for me, the construction is not for me, even though I kept looking for a job. But you know, again, everybody's asking for, you know, 3-5 years of experience, and they require some particular skills, you know, like foundation work, or experience with foundation work, or ability to read blueprints. I cannot do that. So, and plus, like I said, some people were saying that I made a mistake paying so much money for that school, but don't forget, when I got hired to work at that solar farm, I was making $2,000 a week, of course, Canadian. So I think in 2 months that I worked there, I made about $14,000. So I covered my tuition, which was $6,300. So it was not for nothing, you know. So I got that money back. But like I said, it was you know, the first couple of weeks were interesting, but then it got boring. You know, it's like you're stuck in that site, right? Like I said, so I find that driving is much more interesting, especially now that I had my you know, kind of like academic leave, right? So I left trucking in August 22, and now I do some light trucking, and hopefully maybe next year I'll be able to get back to, you know, semi-truck trucking, right? We'll see. And of course, ideally I want a job like this, what I'm doing now, where I deal with equipment, like driving plus operating equipment, you know, like to load, unload. Pretty much what I did before, you know, when I was independent trucker, except I'm not sure I want to deal again with, you know, 10 axle loads and those heavy chains and binders, you know. Something a bit simpler. Maybe kind of like a step deck, you know, when you have a step deck trailer, you move some equipment, you move some small dozers, excavators. So we'll see. But for now, I'm happy here. I don't want to jump, because, you know, I need to improve my credit rating, and of course it helps when you
take exit 43, then use the right lane to take the Country Hills Boulevard West Ramp.
It helps when you stay in the same job for a few months, right? So I don't think I'm leaving until at least until the end of the year. So, and plus after 2 months, no, I've been here what, March, April, yeah, almost 2 months. Like 1 more month, and they're gonna do a review, and hopefully
use the right lane to take the Country Hills Boulevard West Ramp, then merge onto Country Hills Boulevard Northwest West.
Hopefully they don't find too many faults with my work, and so if everything is okay with the review, I will get $1 extra per hour, which is like 10 bucks a day, you know. And plus there's benefits, you know. They take care of all income taxes. I don't have to worry about that. And probably the worst one, when I was an independent trucker, the one tax or report
In 600 meters, turn right.
I really hated was that IFTA, that stupid IFTA, fuel tax that you had to do every 3 months. And plus there was New York and Kentucky. I don't miss those reports one little bit. And speaking about variety and boring jobs, so I dropped this one off at Sobeys grocery store, west part of Calgary, and now I'm driving 35 clicks. What is it, like 22 miles south and east to the different part of Calgary, So you work a little bit and then you enjoy driving, look at the scenery, listen to the radio, what's not to like? Well, after the second delivery, I checked in with dispatch, turned in the paperwork, and they only had scaffolding, like a pickup of scaffolding far in the south of Calgary, like 45 clicks away. What is that? Almost 30 miles. And so I had a quick lunch at this Japanese place, and now I'm heading south on the ring road in the pickup truck. And I was debating whether to have a lunch break before or after the pickup, because it's a big load of scaffolding. Some people might argue it's not big, but 6 frames and 6 decks, 10 foot long, and a bunch of braces and 2 half frames. That's a lot, especially like 6 decks. I can deal with frames, but decks, because they're so sharp, like edges, very sharp edges, they're very awkward to carry. Even though they weigh pretty much the same as frames, but I'd rather load and unload those 5x5 frames than these 10 foot long decks. And so if I decided to have a lunch before loading, and so the driving will take, like, from the time I finish my lunch, it's going to be like 30 minutes. So I thought that would give me enough time to digest, stuff, at least like initial. Because, you're not supposed to work hard after lunch or after any meal. Like, you need at least half an hour, just be still so that everything can be properly digested. And so this is perfect. So I'm driving, I'm just sitting, just observing the scenery. Just like I mentioned before, driving is still, after so many years, for me, driving is still more interesting than other things. Like, I would love to do more of freight brokerage, but unfortunately it's not as easy as many people think. Like, of course, the biggest the biggest dilemma is how to find shippers or customers or people that have some equipment or machinery to ship. So I had one guy that said he bought a truck. He bought a used truck at an auction in US, and he needed that one to be delivered to Eastern Canada. And I found him a truck that was available for pretty fair price, and the gentleman couldn't give us a shipping date. And of course the carrier says, hey, I'm there once a week, so can we load next Thursday? So I asked the customer. He does not know because he's still dealing with customs paperwork. And that's the issue with these, cross-border shipments, US to Canada, Canada to US. That some people think Canada is just a part of US. Well, it's not. So there's a lot more paperwork when you move, like this load, right? Just the regular semi-truck, no sleeper, so it's not too tall. It's only maybe 9.5 feet tall. But you're moving this from Washington State to, I think, Ontario. And so that's an international shipment, right? So customs, CBP, Canada Customs, so you have to deal with all these. But the guy I found is an experienced guy. He always does, just like when I was a trucker, right? I was always doing cross-border shipments. And so this guy is not scared by the international border, so he's ready to go. He just needs to know when he can go and pick it up, and the customer cannot give us the answer, And of course, the first thing is, like, 9 cases out of 10, when a potential customer reaches out, they don't even have the shipment yet. All they want to know is how much it'll cost. Like, did you buy this already? Because, quite often it's an auction piece, right? So they buy something at an auction in the States or in Canada if it's an American customer. And they're just bidding. They're bidding on that piece of machinery at an auction, and they're trying to figure out what's their maximum bid should be, and so they need to know how much it would cost to ship something. And so they have no idea when is it gonna ship, or they don't even know if they're gonna win the auction, right? And so, but they just want to know the price, how much it'll cost. And so that's the shipper's perspective. He doesn't care about shipping date. They just want to know the price. Now, when I look for trucks, right, the first thing all carriers or truckers ask is, when is it shipping? Is it ready to go? Because what shippers or customers, in my case, right, a guy that ships machinery and equipment. So what shippers don't realize is that, as they say on the news, it's a fluid situation, right? So trucks don't sit in one spot. Like shippers quite often are under the impression that there's a truck that kind of like dropped the anchor, let's say in San Francisco, California, and he's sitting there and he's giving out quotes, It doesn't work like that, right? So these guys, they do lanes, right? They say, okay, we do lanes, we go there all the time, but our truck, like with this carrier, with the Washington pickup, right? He says, usually we are available on Thursday in Washington State. So he says it's our lane, so we do it all the time. Basically, Washington State to Canada, to Eastern Canada. But And so that's what the first, obstacle. The shipper wants a quote. The shipper wants to know how much it would cost, but carriers are like, wait, is it loading now, this week, next week? Because if it's not loading this week, I don't care. And I remember I was arguing with a couple of these guys because I say, hey, right now we're just looking for a quote. Can you tell me how much you would charge? And again, the guy says, when is it shipping? Because we have a truck there tomorrow, but we're not going to have a truck there next week. So he says, I'm not going to even bother giving you a quote. So yeah, that's the thing. So carriers don't want to tell you the number because it's a fluid situation, dynamic situation. Things change all the time, right? And that's, I'm telling you, that's a big obstacle for me as a broker. So of course carriers look at me like I'm an idiot, like, you want a quote, okay, so but it's not shipping yet. Does your customer even own this piece of machinery? And like, honestly, I feel like an idiot. No, he doesn't own this. He's just looking for a price. And basically, carriers are go, get lost, basically. So that's the difficulty for me as a freight broker of dealing with carriers and shippers. And so it gets to the point where I cannot get a carrier to give me a price because the shipper does not know the shipping date, right? And so what I do sometimes, I just use my own calculator. I talked about this before, when I was a trucker. So when brokers call me and they ask me how much I would charge, so I use that calculator, right? And so sometimes when I cannot persuade carriers to give me the price, I just use my own calculator and give them a price. And then guess what? What happened a couple of times? The shipper's super happy that I was able to submit the quote, this fast. And then all of a sudden, like, it's kind of like wait and then hurry up and wait, right? So at first they have no idea when it's shipping. Then they call me or email me and they say, okay, when can you have the truck there? I said, what truck? I gave you a quote. I don't have a truck yet. Oh, we're ready to ship. Can you honor the quote you gave us? And so now I start talking to carriers, and carriers are like, no, that's too cheap. We need more money. Yeah, dispatch just called me and they said, did you get my message? I said, no, I didn't get a message because I'm busy driving to southern Alberta. And she started laughing because, it's 45 clicks, right? 28 miles. It's not even Calgary anymore. I think it's a suburb of Calgary. But anyway, so she texted me another small pickup, another couple of frames, couple of braces. So the first pickup is big, and then the second one is small. But my pickup truck is gonna look like a circus truck. And I told them, she says, are you gonna be able to pack all that in the in your pickup truck? I said, well, don't worry, I still have the back seat here, with because it's a 4-door body. So I said, if it doesn't fit in the bed, I can always put it on the back seat. And she said, well, good luck with that. Because of course braces are 10 feet long and decks are 10 feet long.
In 3
kilometers, use the right 2 lanes to take exit 96 for 88th Street Southeast.
Oh, I'm almost there. I'm just 8 clicks away, 5 miles. All right, let's go load scaffolding 1, and then we're gonna go and get scaffolding order number 2.